Baruchim Aboim B'Shem Hashem. B'Shem Irgin Shir Terem Moses Boston. We'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's shir. All the people who came in person, everyone who's listening on the phone or watching on the stream. Baruchim Aboim. There's all the women, there's a Snoshim. Baruchim Aboim to everyone. I'd like to give a shekach to Mr. and Mrs. Eli Goldbaum for sponsoring tonight's shir. Chavoid Rav Scheinerman Shlit. I'd like to give a shekach to Elam Shem for sponsoring tonight's shir. Leilin Shomois, Rav Gedalia Ari Ben Rav Shmuel Yitzchak, whose yahrzeit was today, Rav Chaim Yitzchak Ben Rav Israel, and Isha Shulamas Nomi Bas Rav Gedalia Ari Sholem. To have the great source of sponsoring a share, call Irgin Shir Terem at 718-851-8651 or email ist@yeshivanet.com. Tonight we have the cover to have with us once again Rav Moshe Scheinerman Shlit, Rav Kollel Bnei Hayeshivos, on the important topic of utilizing our time properly. As my cover to call on the Rav Shlit of tonight's Rosh.
Choshev Moirav Rabbi Isai. The Chavetz Chaim in his Shem Oilom writes as follows: Ma ma'oid tzorich ha'odom lismoyach b'imei hachayim. How happy should one be that he's alive? Shenosan lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu chayim. Shal yodo yuchal lahasig ha'oinig ha'nitzchi ki yeh tzorur b'tzror ha'chayim b'yisanig al Hashem l'netzach. What we're being told is that we should appreciate the most important and valuable gift that we have, and that is life. There is nothing more valuable than life. The protoplasm of Chayim is life. And the Chavetz Chaim says that only through the instrument, utilizing the instrument of life, can we be zoicher litzror b'tzror ha'chayim, which means, in our language, to have an everlasting existence. Allow me to read for you a few very choice Ma'ar Mekoymes before we get into the Inyan. The Rambam, in Ovois, Perek Daled, Mishnah Yud Zayin, says the Rambam as follows. And I say many times in my shul, when a Rishon speaks, Sinai speaks. It is as if we are hearing a voice emanating from the most pristine place that this earth possesses, and that's Maimed Har Sinai. Says the Rambam, Ein achar hamoves shleimus v'loi koisefes. After a person leaves this world, there is absolutely no means by which he can attain shleimus on his own. Omnom yashlim ha'odom v'yosef ma'ila rak ba'olam hazeh. Only through his actions in olam hazeh can one indeed be zoiche to all the nitzchias, all the infinite amount of life and pleasure that the next world has to offer. V'lezeh choma shloime b'melech b'keheles ki ein ma'aseh v'cheshbon v'das v'chochma b'she'oil. There is nothing that can be gained once we are in the cave, once we are buried. Asher atahoylech shomo. It happens to everybody. Rishon Slanta once said, as the Andre mentions, there are people who think that there's a chevra, a union of starbis. I never pay the dues, therefore I'm not one of them, and therefore I will be able to escape being part of that group, that union. Zog the Rambam nishtazoi. Says the Rambam that every person is asher yelech odom yisholov yisharli oilom. Ulezeh serich the Rambam. Tzorch yishtadel ha'odom b'zeh hazman ha'kotzar v'lo yaved zmanoi el b'knois ha'moilish levad. It is incumbent upon us to utilize the time that we were given in this world. Yemei shnois chayayim shivim shono v'im b'gvurois shmoinim shono. Says the Rambam, v'lo yaved zmanoi el b'knois ha'moilish levad. Shev seidem meruba achar she'ein lo tmura v'lo takona. It is a one-time shot. I was once stuck on the ramp going up the George Washington Bridge for about 2 hours, going towards the bridge. And after hearing all that the many 18 minutes worth of telling us that all there is to hear about concerning the news of the world, I became bored and I started to count the windows on the apartment building. That's how bored I was. But it was all kedai. Because after 2 hours of standing there, I noticed a bumper sticker right in the car in front of me. And the bumper sticker said as follows: "This is not a rehearsal. Our life is a one-time shot. Never again shall we pass this makom, this stage. Whatever we can accomplish in this world shall remain with us forever. This is not a rehearsal for another performance. There is no other performance. There is nothing else. It is just this world." Geht der Rambam weiter. Therefore, we should spend our time trying to better our neshama. We should only spend our resources on only those things that are impossible without them. There are those who, this is the Rambam, who utilize their time in this world, bikush hagashomi, that is considered, that they are considered successful by virtue of the fact that they can spend their days and nights and days, weeks and weekends, months and years, pashivin, which means spending the time and in indulging them, allowing themselves to indulge themselves, whether it's in achila or other inyanim. But it is an indulgement, and that is, says the Rambam, that will get you no place. The way they came in this world with nothing, these people who live their lives of eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you might die, they will leave the world like they came. Says the Rambam, and it is an eternal loss. And you should know, says the Rambam, I'm not being mechadish anything to you. He says most of the masses, and he's not talking about the Episcopalians or the Catholics, he's talking about us. Most of the Jews, most of the Yidden, Fchume Yidden, Yahapchu ha'emes b'zois ha'she'ela, they machen ha'kapoya. V'yoimru she'hakat ha'rishoyne, those who seek by the oilam through limun ha'teire, cloistering themselves, they should not be exposed to the influences of the goyishka world and life. Oh, they are losing life. They're not experiencing life. They have nothing from life. They're the big losers. V'achroine, those who spend their time enjoying this world and all the amenities that it has to offer. You know something? They are the ones who have this world. They are marviach ha'olam. Va'inyin, zog the Rambam, says the Rambam, hu behepich mamish, heim somim choshech la'oyer, va'oyer la'choshech. They're utilizing that which is choshech, and they think it's oyer. And the oyer, they think, can only give them, at the end of the day, or at the end of their lives, choshech. And woe is to those who forfeit the emes. This is the Lashon HaRambam. Rabbi say, we're being told that a Jew has to spend his time in the right way. Our time, there is no free time. I remember when I was in Camp Deal as a youngster in New Jersey, in Deal, New Jersey. There used to be, after supper, before the night activity, they gave us a half hour. It was very structured, the whole camp. They gave us a half hour, which they called it, quote, unquote, free time. Do what you want. Play baseball, basketball, run, jump. It wasn't structured. Rabbi say, a Jew has absolutely not 1 second in this world which is not called for. He has absolutely no time. He's not allowed, theologically, to space out. He's not allowed to spend time for himself. Every moment is to be called for, each person according to his madrega, of course. Rav Chanan Wasserman said a hesped on his Rebbe, the Chavetz Chaim. He says, what should I say? Ich bin a tzaddik, ich bin a godel, ich bin a kodosh. There's no way that I can possibly be yoitze. I'll say the same hesped that Bnei Olam says for Moshe Rabbeinu. What was the hesped that Moshe Rabbeinu received from Bnei Olam? Ki eved neman karos eloi. He was an eved. Ki meis Moshe eved Hashem. Eved means in lomdis. In lomdis, if a person says, my dear master, 99% of my time is yours, but I need 1 minute a day for a smoke or whatever I want. It's 1 minute is for myself. I want that 1 minute. That's on Eved. Eved means be'etzem. There's nothing that you withhold for yourself. Everything is for the master. In our case, it's Bnei Olam. So this is what the Rambam is telling us, and then we're going further, the Goyin. In the Akdoma to Shulchan Aruch, the Agoyis HaGro and Shulchan Aruch, the kinder, the children of the Goyin, bring down something very, in clear words, they say this whole hashkofa. Tomid hoyo avinu oimer. Ikir techachosai hoyse el akroivim v'hoimdim lefnim. Lo idea gam el rechoikim. Please tell all and sundry. Shelo yotziu zmanum be'efes tikva. They should not spend their time doing nothing. Liyois kol ish einov pekuchois al chelkei zmanoi. You have zman. That zman one day is going to end. It is finite. It's not infinite. And that time must be utilized as much as you possibly can. L'tzarech haneshama, as we'll see in a few moments. Says the Goyim, L'regoyim tivchanenu, v'shetiyohitzah zmani b'dvam hayoysi yikorim she'er shevu osek atayr v'avodah. L'regoyim tivchanenu, minutes, seconds, they're all going to be called for. What did you do in that minute? What do you mean you just sat there doing nothing? You were given breath, you were given life. It is to be utilized. Versteht the Goyim's time utilization would be expected, as expected, was greater than we can ever attain. But the hashkofa is the same. The hashkofa that the Goyim had and the hashkofa that we should have should be equal. That should be, there should not be any difference. The hashkofa is time utilization in this world, because time, nitzchus hazman should be the same. They say the Chassam Sofer, under the Zogan, part of his greatness was that gvorn a goin for minuten. He became a goin from minutes. In between shiurim, he had a seder where he picked up a certain sefer and he learned a certain inyan. In between his shiurim, the goin, the Chassam Sofer, a goin for minuten. Rabbi Chonon, when he went to visit the Imrei Emes in Ger, he came back, Molly Hispilus. What was his Hispilus? He saw that the Imrei Emes, the Ger Rebbe, Zeichet Tzadik V'Kodesh L'Vrocha, had sedorim of 5 minutes. A 5-minute seder, what could you accomplish? The tachlis was to show, yes, indeed, 5 minutes is aber, is choshuv. Chatzkel Abramsky once said, he was a Rav in England, he said, I visit the sick every day. That's my job as being the Rav Roshi. That's what he was at the time in England. He was the head of the Beis Din. And he said, when I go into the hospital and I visit the wards, what is the wish of those Yidden who are attached to instruments? In the hospitals, they're hospitalized, they're attached to this instrument and that instrument. What is their Rotzoin? Was willen sie? As ich wollte gebeten, give me your wish and I'll try to your wish is my command. What could we... One bakosha. What is it? I can't wait. My hoffenish is I should be freed from these instruments and go back to the base medrash and hear the Yankiv shir, to the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch shir was the Rebbe give the Jeden Tog. And that's a fact. That's when they're sick and they see that Chas v'Shalom, the end is possibly nearer than they would have thought otherwise. Oi, das is mein bakosha. We'll soon see in a few minutes wie weit das geht. The Shari Tshuva, again, a Rishon. Listen to how he articulates this hashkofa. A Rishon, the Shari Tshuva. In Shar Sheni Ois Zayin, Umin Atmiya v'Hapliya. It's min Atmiya, a Rishon, v'Hatmiya. Ki Yamay da'odam v'chetzi yamav. We all like to think that, we're middle-aged, but then again, I don't know how many people live to 100. They could say 50 is middle-age. And you know what I mean by that. But we see that we don't have the same strengths that we once had. Zog the Shari Tshuva. You see that your days are numbered. You know, there's a joke that when a guy drops something and he's middle-aged, quote unquote, and he goes down to pick it up, he says to himself, what else could I do while I'm down here? Because it was difficult to get down there. Was noch kann ich tun? Sagt der Shari Tshuva, v'yechsa hamezek b'tiva, he sees he is slowly, his body is betraying him. V'tira boy hayabeshes, and he sees the end. Eich toch maris enev amaskel levavoi. So how does he spend his life continuing with frivolous behavior and doing things which will not bring him any shleimus haruchni? I'll say what I said to somebody this morning. Someone this morning told me they're off to Spain and to Portugal. Why are you off to Spain and Portugal? Because we're going to take a tour of the old Jewish neighborhoods. You know, the Rashba was in it. I said, give me a break. You're going to really have epis ashleimus hanafshi? What's your excuse? You're a very wealthy man, that means. You have so much time to waste. You should be spending this time in the Beis Medrash and going getting some sun outside the Beis Medrash and hopping a swim, which is good for your koichos. But what does it do for your shleimus hanafshi? I told the same thing to a couple of my shul. There's a true story. 3 years ago, they wanted to go on a boat, a cruise to see the icebergs off the coast of Alaska. The icebergs. You know what they are, right? Big mountains of ice. I said, Gewalt in the Welt. Chutz and the pritzes that are on the ships, we're leaving that out of the picture. How are you such a wealthy individual? You can wait 10 days of your life, which will bring you in absolutely no revochim for your neshama. Please explain it to me. Vacation sounds very benign, but vacation is only mandated. You only have reshus is if you need it for your gesund. Otherwise, in Beis Medrash. You have a time in Beis Medrash. Let me quote you from a Kadmoin, but I wrote it in English. Massive. Just finish the Shari Tshuva. Everyone has to realize, Hu noisea el mokoim beis olamai. We're all traveling towards our beis olamai, to the end of our days in this world. Hoylech v'noisea yoimom v'laylo. In the day and the night, the nights and the days, we're traveling. We're going towards the finish line. But listen to this quote from one of the Kadmonim. The body betrays you as you get older. And that we all know. But the neshama never betrays you. It can soar higher and higher until the time comes for you to leave this world. Nearly kim nishmasad musif Rav Moshe Scheinerman soon that the neshama is forever. And if you keep your neshama going, even though your body will betray you, that part of you, that soil part of the soul, that timely part of the timeless, it will betray you. And yet you're spending your days and your nights catering to it to the extent that how much nitzchis are you going away? Salanta, Kamat is over word. He said he once passed by a shoemaker, and he saw the fellows working at night. The sun is down. There was no electricity, and he put on a nail. So he asked him, "How long are you going to be working here at night?" Rabbi Scholler asked this shoemaker, the shoemaker. Yeah, he says, "What do you mean? As long as the snare is burning, I will continue working." Says Rabbi Scholler, "Oi, oi, oi, ner likim nishmas odom." As long as my ner, which is my neshama, is working, is here. As long as I have my neshama, I will try to make my body conform to be mishamash to neshama. Rabbi Yisrael made a ganze mutzishmuz from the shuster. You heard? From the shuster, the shoemaker, that he said to him, "How long are you going to remain here and work?" He says, "As long as this snare is alive, it's still flickering and flacketing, I will be able to continue working." Dr. Bishol Salanta. As long as our neshama is still alive, oi can me misaken zayin. Oi, how much we are bekoyach to be misaken our neshamis and meila our guf. Live oil l'saken mashatzorach kan. There was Isha Tzikonius, you all knew her. Rebbe Tanessa Jungreis. So I was on the phone with her when she broke her hip. And it was in San Diego, California. And she told me about a story which was Neucha. She went with her father, Alei Shalom, to visit Rav Henkin, to get a bracha from him. And when Rav Henkin walked into the room, her father said to her, that's why she was so choshev, "Oy, stay off for the Malach Elikim. Stand up, the Malach Elikim has entered the room, Rav Henkin." Dr. Henkin, so she asked, what should I tell people to mechazik them? Dr. Henkin gesagt, guck auf mir, mein Tochter, look at me, my daughter. Was siehst du auf mir? Sag, what do you see of me? Ich sehe the Rebbe, I see the Rebbe. Du siehst zwei Augen, yeah? You see my two eyes, right? Yeah. Nein, ich bin ein Blinde, I'm blind. You don't see two eyes. What you see, and I quote, is ausgetrockene Fleisch, which means dried out meat. I have no more eyes. I'm blind. It's ausgetrocken. It's dried out meat, flesh. That's all you see. Then Rav Henkin says, go tell people. Tell the young ones. And we're all young, by the way. Because every day we're newborn, as we'll see in a few moments with the Rashba. I'm Fusha Rashba. But we're all young. You all have life to live. And every day can present to us nitzchias that we have no hasoga. We cannot fathom what kind of nitzchias we could have. Go tell the youngsters as follows. Do not be mevazvez your zman. Do not in any which way treat the zman that you have in this world frivolously. It's a matana, a one-time shot. Kol rega ze yokor, ki boy yovo zman shegam heim tiyu chas v'shol matzu shel zikna. You will also be one day zikna, which means the end. V'oz ein haftochos. Once we're older, there's no haftochos. What gifts we will be given. I was by my Rebbe's almana, Rav Gifta's almana, my Tzoy Shabbos in Lakewood. She's 103 years old, as Isha Zekena. And Baruch Hashem, she's zet perfect. She sees, she hears perfectly. When she talks, that conversation, mamish like a young lady. It's a matana, but who has such a matana? Very far and wide, very few. The Goyen, Alexander Ziskin Lapidus, in the Imrei Emes, brings down from the Goyen Dvorim Nifloyim. But Rabbi Yisai, I'm not, if you think I'm trying to scare you, I'm trying to be mechazik you. And I'm giving you, these are bona fide Mar Mekoimis. These are not fringe Mar Mekoimis. These are bona fide Mar Mekoimis. Zok the Goyen, as when a person leaves the Beis HaLevayos, after he's nifta, until the Kfura, his entire life is played out in front of him. These are the words. I'm not going to read the words to you. And he says, even if he wouldn't die, from the tsar of seeing how he wasted so much time, he could have been zeichet to so much more. That in itself could kill him. Says the Goyen, Asher b'chol yimei chayv asher holchu b'batola, asher b'chol shov v'shov yochol arviach Gan Eden. I could have gotten Gan Eden with this mitzvah and that mitzvah, but tainugim niflor asher ayin leiroso. Im hoyel odem boil mazeh echem elf alof mechelik miatzar. Oy that tsar, alfi alofim, of seeing how I futched. I have no other way of explaining what futched is, but I futched. I did not spend my life, my time properly. Oy vavoy. Maisa, Navarn Leib Steinman, a man came to Navarn Leib. He said, my wife says, I must come to you. I must come to you. Why? You see, I'm very successful and I bought myself a gorgeous car. And my wife is afraid that people are going to be jealous. And it's not good for us. People are jealous of us. And Bnei Brak B'fchat, no one could afford a car, b'chlal, let alone a brand new car and a ritzy car. Says Rav Leib, he asks him, he says, Zog, Shas kennst du? Do you know Shas? He says, no, Rebbe, no. Mesechte, Rebbe, no. You could keep the car, no problem. No one will be jealous of you. Nobody will be jealous. They had their priorities. They understood what we're here for. Mizogen loy omus ki echye. David HaMelech says a posik in Tehillim, loy omus ki echye. I do not want to die because I want to live. Well, of course you don't want to die because you want to live. What is David HaMelech telling us? Loy omus ki echye. Zogt the Balei Musa. Rav Chaim Shlevet says it come out mefurish also. Ki can mean also, has a meaning different places in Tanakh, whilst. I do not want to be dead while I'm alive. Now, it's an oxymoron. How can I be dead while I'm alive? Zogt Rashi in Kuf Chof Tesom and Beis in Shabbos. Difgorim Meisim, that when a person spends a day Yom de Pagre, you know what Yom de Pagre is? We call it a vacation day. I'm going to call it an unmandated vacation day. Away from the Gemara, away from doing chesed, away from saying Tehillim. Oh, really? That's called Yom de Pagre, bebchiras lefgorim meisim. Schat toite tog. It's a dead day. Yes, was tut sich why almost kiyechi. I do not want to be dead while I'm alive, whilst I'm alive. How many people who spend their lives going to who knows where and who knows what, accomplishing nothing for their zel, for their neshama, and they're considered alive? That's considered lefgorim meisim. Bebchiras pegorim. They're dead. Rav Chatzkel, the Mashgiach Aponovich, hat gesagt in Yiddish, he says as follows: ein Mensch darf weggehen von der Welt mit satte Tag. He had a word, satte Tag. Zat means full, satisfied. That the Tag, the days, have to be full days. Not a half a day, a whole day. Rav Tukachinsky says in one of his droshes, he wrote a sefer on Avelus. He says, I go to a Beis HaKvaros and I see tombstone of 19, 21, 13, 26. The whole Beis HaKvaros, they died so young. So nay. It's under Worten Ganzen. That's how many days or how many years they lived accomplishing. Everything else wasn't alive. Those were dead. That's not called accomplishing. Dvorim nifloim. The Alter von Kelm, we saw Slantis Talmud Muvik, writes as follows: now these are words which you take, Rabbi Yisai, this is not Kederach Hadar Shonim, this is Lamai Siddiq. Says the Alter von Kelm of Simcha Zisel Ziv. Bari Olam created the world. Kedai, for him to create the world for 6,000 years, 6 millennia. Kedai Yehudi Echad Yizke. Loimer pam achas, to say one time, bilvad, b'chol meshech zman abriya, from Adam Rishon till the end of time, one yid should articulate only once. Baruch Hu uVaruch Shemoy. It's kedai gans briyas ha'olam, may Adam atzoif ha'olam, so that one yid should say that. So we see this schar that we have for saying Baruch Hu Baruch Shemoy. It's worth the creation of the world, sustaining the world, carrying the world for 6,000 years. 6,000 Jahre. Abi ein Yid zagen amol Baruch Hu uVaruch Shemoy. But that's nothing. He goes further. The elef pa'amim Baruch Hu uVaruch Shemoy. And 1,000 times a Yid says Baruch Hu uVaruch Shemoy lo magia legoydel chashivas shel amiras amen. 1,000 Baruch Hu uVaruch Shemoy do not come to one amen. That means one amen is 1,000 more times more choshev than Briyas Ha'olam until the end of time, which doesn't even take care of a Baruch Hu Baruch Shemoy. And then he goes and says the pièce de résistance, as we'd say in French. Zogt Rev the Alter von Kelm. Uve elef pa'amim amen. Loi magia legoydel chashiva shel amiras amen yehei shmei rabba. 1,000 amens do not come to one Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach Liolam Ol Meyol Mayo. The elef pam shal miras amen Yehei Shmei Rabba. What I say? The elef pamim amiras Yehei Shmei Rabba. After all the equations, Eina Magia the Teva Achas shal Talmud Teira shal Limanat Teira. This is major. How much we could accomplish for ourselves if we take this lesson and say to ourselves, I have a minute, I'm going to use it. I'll say Tehillim. It's one word of Torah. I'll daven. I'll go to a shul and I'll hear Amen till the guy comes. I'll meet you in 10 minutes. You come and get me. I want to get the Amens. It's worth thousands of years. Rav Yankov Kamenetsky was once asked by a Talmud. His mother was very ill. And there were many problems. She had many sicknesses, including she had to have a lady even come and clean her and take care of her. She couldn't take care of herself. And she became very dejected, as we can appreciate. She lost her self-esteem, and she became depressed, that she couldn't even take care of herself. And she said, "Best ich soll weggehen von der Welt. Better I should leave this world. It's so degrading and so depressing." She went to Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky. Rav Yaakov said as follows, Rabbi Yisai. It's important to hear this. If there's the Malach said to Yaakov Avinu, to Sorah Shel Esav, leave me, let me go. I have to go sing Shira by Bnei Yoilam. Steht in Medrash, that Malach was created for one purpose, to say Shira on that morning. When was the Malach created? He was created 2,000 years prior by B'shas Brias Ha'olam. That's when Malach HaShoros were created. No Malach was created after the creation ex nihilo, B'shas Brias Ha'olam. That means, says Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, this Malach was around for 2,000 years for the one purpose only, to sing Shira once, Tzimbayre Olam. Only once will he be utilized to sing that morning Shira Tzimbayre Olam. That is his mission in this world. For that he was created 2,000 years prior to this episode. Says Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, if your mother understands the koich of Yeheshmei Rabbah, Brocha Achas, Tefillah Achas, Kapitel Tehillim Echod, she would understand that what she's accomplishing for her soul is far, far outweighs the difficulties that she's going through. Of course she's going through difficulties, but what is she accomplishing for her soul? As mentioned, the soul does not futch on us. The soul does not rebel on us. The soul, as mentioned before, we brought you the Lashon, if you don't mind, does not betray us. And we can accomplish with a Yeheshmei Rabbah. Let's not take it a Yeheshmei Rabbah. You come spät zu a davening, you come late to a davening, you miss a Yeheshmei Rabbah. You know what you're missing? Here goes the mathematics. 1,000 times 1,000 times 1,000. And if you come late to a shir, you miss a word of Torah, it's astronomical, the cheshbonis. This is what Rav Yaakov told him. Is Rabbi say, Hillel hoya oimer, im loy achshov ei mosai, im loy achshov as ei mosai. Zogt Rabbeinu Yoiner, gam im loy achshov ei mosai shelo yomer ani hayoim osip b'malachti. Today I'm doing my melacha, whatever it is, and tomorrow I'll learn. Zogt afilim yifne hayoim. Let's say indeed that day will come and you'll do it, but you still missed today. You could have done it today. It's brought down in Shulchan Aruch. If a person is mechadish teicha and Chol HaMoed, is he allowed to write it down? Only a dover ovid. It's not ovid. I won't forget it. Talk to Mishnah Berurah in Tov Kuf Mem Hey. It's a dover ovid. You know why? Because after Yontiv you can write a different shtickle teicha. Und nach Yontiv you can schreiben an andere shtickle teicha. It's called dover ovid. Do you hear how the Mishnah Berurah is thinking? Rabbi, are we following? There was a choshev younger man, Bocher, an Eloi in Slabodka. His name was Avram Arya Kaplan. Rabbi said, those of you who have pens and paper, write this down. It's an adage, and it's genius, and it encapsulates everything we just said. 2 lines. Listen to what there's a shir which he wrote, Shokachamu. I'm sure you're familiar with the shir. I went with my father, Alav Shalom, and Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, to be Mevaka Choyle, Rabbi Vasilsky, who was a Rebbe in Torah Vadas, when he was in Sloan Kettering, and a few days before he was Nifta. And Rav Yaakov sang for him, Shokachamu. And I sat there, and I heard it, how Rav Yaakov was singing for him, Shokachamu. There's one phrase in this nigun that says as follows, and I quote, Yomim cholfim, Yomim bo'im, days go, days come. Mibli kachat, mibli tet. Those days that come and go, I gave nothing for kvod shamayim. Bli tet, I gave nothing for Bnei Olam. No teire, no tzedakah, no tfilos. Not even a good word to another Jew. Good morning, how are you? Bli kachas, bli tet. I took nothing in for myself. I did not steig a kihuzeh. Then he says, Rabbi says, here's the words. Im lezot karat chayim. If this is what is called chayim, if this is the, shall we say, the essence of chayim, if this is chayim, that a Jew can live in this world, b'li kachat, b'li tet, emorli keli, then Boirei Olam, please tell me, mazeh meis. It's got to be worse than this. What could be worse than this? Zavot, was sagt ihr mein Teire? What could be worse than not giving or not taking in Yoni Ruchni? Ad k'dei kach, to the extent that if a Yid lives in this world, b'li kachat or b'li tet, and if we think into it, and by the way, and 5 minutes without kachat b'li tet, 2 hours b'li kachat b'li tet, im zeh koro chayim, Emily, Kaylee, mazeh meis. I could spend hours. Someone asked me, and is spacing out also considered Bittelsman? I said, it sure is. You have no right to space out. The Kotzke, the Kotzke gesagt, he wants to build a yeshiva of Talmidim shelo yosem aveiros. Okay, sounds good, utopian. But you know why? So the Heilige Kotzke, lo mipnei she'oseh la'asos aveiros. Not because of that. You know why I want a yeshiva of guys and fellows who do not perform iniquities, aveiros? Because I want to have Talmidim who don't have zman to do aveiros. They're so involved in Limud HaTorah, and with this hashkofas achayim, that zman is the most important asset that we have, that we will ever have. A rich man with no zman is not worth anything. A poor person with plenty of zman has everything. That's the Kotzke. Rav Hutner in his derech, Rav Hutner kedarkoi, if you understand what I'm saying is good, if not, Rav Hutner, he says, zman has to be so choshev to us. It should be the quintessence of life by us so much that if you waste some time, you should feel as if as if your blood is being oiskegis and is pouring out of you. Because there's no difference between zman and because hazman is hadam hu hazman. Hazman hu adam. It's an article which someone once wrote concerning the Yidden who wrote the Torah in the Toisus in Daf Ayin Vav Ayin Zayin, I think, I'm not sure, in Baba Kama, a whole page the night before they were killed. Ki adaf hu adam. I'm saying ki azman hu adam. That's a Yitzchok Hutner. Quickly weiter's gate. How far does Hashkofa go? The Stipler, a bocher came to him. A bocher came to him and said, Rebbe, I have a problem. What's your problem? Rabbi said, let's think out of the box. We're not narrow-minded. Think out of the box. Zog the Bochitz and Stipler, I am the focal point, the focus of scorn in my yeshiva. People make fun of me. They deride me. I'm not considered b'chlal a bocher min haminyan, and I don't know why. But that's my matzav. What should I do? Sheina Shaila. Lo mischashvi mi kroi, oisem lag mi meni, v'dem afchili mi oid, it bothers me tremendously. What should I do? Says the Stipler, I hear you. But let me say something to you, my dear friend. You know, life is only 70 years, as mentioned, or 80 in Begvuros. So, if you're going to continue this way, you're going to end up living your life not accomplishing anything. So perhaps you're suffering. I hear you. But that should never, ever serve as an excuse to give away life. Your life is much too choshev. So it's bashert, you should live with this. I can't help you. But you should understand the downside. And if you understand the upside of your devoting yourself to Torah, all this, and devoting yourself to something meaningful for your nafshiyis, for your nefesh, then all of this will not bother you. The Stipler was saying, if we appreciate what life is, the matana of life, as we'll see in a few minutes even more, then we would not allow these things to bother us. I'm too busy, like the Kotzke gesagt, I'm too busy learning. I have no time to be chayte. I'm too busy. I'm too involved in what a person should be involved in this world. I don't have, someone asked me to come to Lakewood Motzei Shabbos, and give a drosha in the wintertime. I said, ich bin nicht a Gvir. He said, what do you mean? I said, let me tell you something. To Lakewood is an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes. Coming back, another hour and a half. Number mathematics at 3.5 hours, I believe. Am I correct? I believe so. Then the drosha for half hour, 45 minutes. That's 4.5 hours almost. I cannot, at my stage in life, give away 4.5 hours of my life. I have to spend it doing something which is more, I reap a greater profit for my neshama. Every day is a matana. Every single day is a matana. And I have no right to pravazich via a rich man that I'm 16, 17, or 18, or 20, that I could give my life away like that. Versteht sich, if it was for Yisomim and Almonis, don't get me wrong, that geht über the Yam, ad the Shemayim. But a drosha for a Malav Malka, whatever it might be. No, that's not where I am. That's a stipler. He said, if we appreciate, and then if we appreciate what life is, think about it. So many of our personal problems would dissipate. As you'd say in Yiddish, like the Fayorik Shnei, so many of our personal problems that serve to make us unhappy on a daily basis, they wouldn't exist because I'm too busy. Ich kann nicht trachten wegen anderen Inyonim. I cannot think about other Inyonim. It'll stir my learning. And I'm here for one purpose, so that my neshama should become, I should establish that total synthesis between my neshama and my goof. That my goof becomes kodesh for my neshama. The Kelem Magid brought into focus this hashkofa. He says, Lu Yitzuya, there'll be a day of emancipation. All the Mason can get up from their graves, and they can have an hour or two, whatever it might be, and they're free. But after 2 hours, they got to go back. And this is going to be broadcast. I'm not going to say in social media, but it'll be broadcast all over. Right? Torah anytime, they'll have it for sure. 2 hours. Chof Aleph, Tamuz. What will we all do? We'll all gelaufen to the basic quotas. To see our relatives. Was mich gesehen so lang. To see G'dayla Yoilam, Rav Moshe, Rav Aaron, the Sat Machov, Tzeil Machov, Rav Yonason Steif, Rav Wozner, Priskerov, Chazanish, Neshayach. It would cause the Adirei Torah event to sink infinitesimally. Zog the Kelem Magid richtig, that's what we would do. What would the Mason do? Was wollen sie getan? Zog the Kelem Magid, I'll tell you what they would be doing. They would say, excuse me, I was in Shemayim, and I see what 1 minute of Torah can accomplish. I have 120 minutes I'm being given now of learning Torah Akdosha. If I learn Torah, when I go back to Shemayim, I'll be able to soar and go further in L'kisei HaKavod and enjoy the Nitzchis, Nitzra B'tzora Chaim and Shemayim. I'm sorry, my dear relatives, I need to find the nearest base medrash so I can devote myself these 2 hours to Limud HaTorah. It's magnificent. The title of this mimer of the Altaf and Kelem is Ha'olam Hazeh Hu Yoyim Deshuki. This world is the world of the marketplace. Some people spend their time in the marketplace trying to find happiness in the world of the mundane, of the material. But here we're being told, not that way. Rav Abramsky brings a posik in Tehillim, Dvorim Nifloyim, Ad L'Miyoid. Steht a posik in Tehillim, Dover Melech sagt, a posik, excuse me, so we get the lashon of the posik. I don't have it here, doesn't matter, but it's that posik. Dover Melech is saying that Kosev Alai Sefer. Kosev Alai Sefer, Tehillim was written already. What is Kosev Alai Sefer? Sagt Abramsky, I'll tell you pshat. Jeden Mensch schreibt doch sein eigenes Sefer in dem Welt. Everyone writes their own Sefer in this world. It starts from the right cover and it ends on the left, on the end cover, on the left side. In between is sandwiched pages every day. Some people, says Abramsky, their Sefer is so thin, there's nothing to put in between the two krichos. They don't have what to put into the krichos. The page is empty. What'd you do today? I slumbered. What'd you do today? Ich geschmuist. What'd you do today? Forget about Sumeira. But when I say toiv, what you accomplish in a positive way. Zogt Azoy Abramski. La Riches Yom Mishorim Toivim, Od Yesh Megillah Sefer, Ovo Im Shtei Krichois. That's what David Melech is saying. I want to write a Sefer, Kosovo Lai Sefer, a Posik in Tehillim, that'll be so thick that every page will be another mitzvah, noch an almona that I held, noch a yesoyme that I held, noch a grushe who I helped, a gunais who I helped, v'chulu. Our job is to make sure that the sefer that we're writing now is so thick. You have to have a strong man to pick it up, because every single day will be inscripted what he did that day in his life. Zogt Azoy. Yesh Megillah Sefer Ovo im Shtei Krichois. V'em tzoi revovois cheldafim. Oma David HaMelech. Ani Ovo lifnei HaKadosh Baruch. I'm going to come in front of Boy Yoilam after 70 years old he came. Megillah Sefer Kosuv Alai. The Sefer Hayofo Shenichtav Alai Yom Yom. It's major. To schreiben jeden Tag, Herr Chaim. Every day we're writing that Sefer. Everyone's writing his own Sefer. Azoy sagt David HaMelech. Dvorim nifloyim. The Chofetz Chaim writes in Teres Habayis. Afilu kisheroim b'nei Adam zekenim sheshkuim kol hayoim v'chol halayil behevlei hevel. Chofetz Chaim writes, that means it is not something which is circa 2023. The Chofetz Chaim writes that in his days when he saw zekenim being oisik in hevlei hevel, einon margishim klal v'dover yoshu beineinu, and we just let it alone. Why not leave the fellow alone? Let him enjoy life. So the Chofetz Chaim, ein ze kiim kulonu katsoin teinu b'avnisenu rabim. We are like the blind being led by this Yetzer Hara, spending our lives involving in Hevel Havolim. Let me end with a moshul, not a moshul, a Maisa Nifle that happened. There was a Yid of Zev Shimon Wolf Rothschild for the Rothschilds. I think he was the first one. And very wealthy man. And if a Jew's wealthy, that automatically brings with it jealousy. And the Marriotts of the government, they wanted to get him, and they heard he's extremely wealthy. And they even heard that he had a room in his house that no one's allowed to go into that room. Nobody. Aha. That's the room where he hides all the emeralds and all the gold and all the silver and all the diamonds and all the precious. We're going to get him. Because in accordance to the taxes that he pays to the governor, and that room, which is full with all kinds of, shall we say, goodies, he should be paying a lot more. So they went to the governor and they received a permit to go force him to open that room. They figured that way they'll get him. And Rothschild said, no, there's nothing there, it's my room. And they said, sorry, you have to open the room. He pulled them to the side and he said, listen, fellas, how much money do you think is in that room? They said, well, an exorbitant amount. They gave a tremendously exorbitant amount. Whereupon he said, you know what? I'll give the treasury that amount. They said, whoa, nothing doing. That even whetted their appetite even more. Then he said, look, what's the most you think that this room could have? And they told him, he said, I'll give double. Just leave me alone. You'll gain and I'll gain. They went to the governor. The governor said, it sounds too intriguing. No, we want that room opened. They went and he got the key. Only he had the key. He opened the door. In that room was a matzeva that said, Poi Tomun Shimon Wolf Rothschild. And he explained that since he has so much money, he was afraid that it would get to his head that he is something special. And there's one way of knocking out, puncturing that gaiva that a person might have by Yiska Yom HaMisa. And he said, that's my special room. I go in every single night. And I learn Musa in front of that matzeva so that I should make sure to walk the path of the straight and narrow. I should never, chas v'shalom, ever deviate from that mokkah. Rabbi say, Hasmoda is not the optional, it's the imperative. A Yid has no right to close a Gemara. I'm going to say it the way it's supposed to be said. unless you're doing something which is v'achakach, like the Rambam brings down, yachzor l'talmudai. Go back to your Gemara. But otherwise, we have no right unless it's for gesund or for some other reason which is indeed mandated by the Shulchan Aruch. And look at the upside that we're being given. We're being told over here that if you spend your life in these kind of pursuits, spiritual pursuits, Yesh Meirabes, Baruch Hu Baruch Shemoy, Amen, and Limud HaTorah, that indeed what you're doing is worth more than the creation of the world until the end of time. We know Rav Chaim Moshe, they once asked Rav Chaim Moshe, when did you write your Sefer Achiyezeh? Just to give you an inkling of how our Gedolim lived their lives. He says, what do you mean? He says, my fourth Seder. Wait a minute. Your first Seder, you're in the Yeshiva Ramailis. Second Seder, you're in the Beis Din. At night, you collect money for your son, Yisaimis, Rav Chaim Moshe, and it's Rochim. So when's the fourth Seder? It's good Kasha. Hat gesagt, was heißt ich sagen? Von der Zeit ich sage am Mapil, when I say am Mapil till I fall asleep, that's what I'm machadish the Achiyezeh. But he said, yeah, Musik was meint as mother. Rav Gifter once told me that Avram Kalmanovich went to Rav Lezer Telzer. Rav Lezer Telzer, and he spoke to him in learning. And Avram Kalmanovich told Rav Lezer Telzer, Nech manach, when I geschlafen, the last time when I was sleeping, I cholem to this kasha. Moridik. What Rav Lezer Telzer gesagt, said back to Avram Kalmanovich, bei Ossen tells, dass nicht kein Kunst zu trachten wegen der Kasche. Man darf trachten wegen dem Teretzoichit. You have to think about the Teretzoichit. Ad kedei kach, are you in Limud HaTorah? Do you know, the Rebina brings down, B'Shem Rav Chaim Vital and the Arizal, it's that we have in Shas, Kinoim, when they were, they were dremlings, they were falling half asleep. We passed an Amayre, and Shas should even quote it, that an Amayre is falling asleep. What is that? Says the Arizal, that's his Pashas Agashmi. That's when the Amoraim totally left this world, and they were able to be masig, things that are not, that are outworldly, not worldly. So sleep also plays a role. I heard a gewaldige word once, a very sharp word, a boy side is very sharp. Birchas HaShachar begins with Birchas HaMapil. Did you know that? The first bracha, Ram says, Birchas HaShachar Elu. Take a look. And the very first bracha is Hamapil. Hayeshivos. As far as I recall, Birchas HaMapil is the bracha you make before you go to sleep at night. What is Birchas HaMapil doing in Birchas HaShachar? Rabbi Yisai says the Alter von Slabodka. He says, you don't understand. Your preparation for the next day begins of how you go to sleep. How you go to sleep, what's your machshav when you go to sleep? I'm going to get up early. A Yid doesn't stop go to sleep. He's going to sleep to get koiches for the next day so he can learn Teirah Gdoisha. By the Goyim, there's a nightlife. Rav Scheinberg once said, Zechron Levroche, a nightlife. Balayelois yetze kol chayso yoar. Alle behemoths gehen a hois by nacht. All the behemoths go out at night. Balayelo yetze kol chayso yoar. That's a nightlife by the Goy. The Yid, his nightlife is the Beis HaMedrash. When he goes to sleep at night, he's thinking about what? How will I be maviach my zman when I get up in the morning to learn my chavrusa? It's a Birchas HaMapil. Instead of, some people say, I can't even say the words, they go to sleep watching something, uish, or reading something which is nicht, uish. Gewaldig begeht schlafen is also an avoid. You're getting ready for this Pashas Hagashmi. That if you're thinking to learning when you're going to sleep, you think about the things where you're sleeping, and who knows what you'll be masig. I say without any sense of exaggeration, when I was writing my Sefer on Sukkah many, many years ago, when I was sleeping, I was stuck for 2-3 days. I was sleeping, I thought of a teretz, and while I was sleeping, I said it can't be the right teretz because I'm sleeping now, and when I was up, it wasn't a good, I didn't have a teretz, so this can't be a teretz. And I got up and I said, the teretz was a teretz. It's nicht kein kunz. It's not a kunz. This is the way our bodies work. Our mind takes over the chelik hageshem. May we all be zeicha choshev and meichav Rabbi say. To start life anew. Oh, the Rashba. The Rashba is moiridik. Why do we wash our hands in the morning? From a kli. Nikiyas doesn't need a kli. Says the Rashba. Tvochem nifloim Rabbi say. This takes everything we just said and puts it into steroids. Every day, we are born again Jews. Our neshamas are taken away. We're given a kli because a davar shebekdusha has just entered. Our bodies have now been fitted, refitted, or, I'm not sure which English word to even use, but refitted with our neshama. And that's a ma'aseh of kedusha, not a ma'aseh of nikiyus. And that means the sum total of our lives, Rabbi, here it goes, is one day. The sum total of our lives is one day. Every day is a new ma'aseh kedusha, which we used by being mekadosh ourselves with the kli, because we're now being retrofitted or fitted with a neshama. And we're being charged today. Go ahead and be Mekayim Ratzon Hashem. Today is the sum total of your life. If we think of it in such terms, Rabbi say, then wow. You know, the Alter wrote to Rav Lezi Yudel a letter, and he signed it with this, the following thing. He says, every day when you get up, I want you to think of three things. You hear? Think of three things when you get up every single day. That you're the only Jew in the world. You have one Blat Gemara to learn. And you have only one day to learn it. That encompasses everything that we said, Rabbi said. If a Yid will live his life with these three machshavos, you're the only Yid in the world. You have one day to accomplish, to live, and you have only one Blat that has to be learned. Oy, would we live our lives differently? It wouldn't even be in the Soyan. I can't go there today. I'm dead tonight. I'm dying tonight. I have a date with Bari Oilm at 12. I don't turn into a pumpkin, but I drop dead. That's the way I am. That's the life I have. We wouldn't spend our lives frivolously. That's the Rashba. So when we wash our hands in the morning, Siman Daled and Shulchan Aruch, we should realize theologically what lies behind that mice in the Tilas Yadayim. Tvachim nifloyim at the miyoid. Chazak v'emotz.
Shem Egen Shir Terem Moshe Bossing like to give Bigash Shakach. Rav Scheinerman Shlit for the very inspiring drosha. I'd like to give Bigash Shakach to Mr. and Mrs. Eli Goldbaum for the sponsoring tonight's shir in honor of Rav Scheinerman. I'd like to give Bigash Shakach to Elam Shem for sponsoring tonight's shir in the Nishmas Rav Gedalia Aryeh ben Rav Shmuel Yitzchok. All of Shlomo's yard site was today. And the Nishmas Rav Chaim Yitzchok ben Rav Azriel. And the Nishmas Isha Shalamas Nomi Bas Rav Gedalia Aryeh Sholem. To have the great source of sponsoring a shir called Irgun Shirei Torah at 718-851-8651 or email ist@yeshivanet.com. Let's utilize our opportunity and the time to sponsor shiurim and have a chelik in our botzas al Torah of Irgun Shirei Torah worldwide. Chanan Yibana Kashem Mertz HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakis Es Yisrael L'Fikir Chibur L'Mtayimita Shenem Al Enei Chofes and Maltzitko Yagul Torah V'Yader.